Page 154. Mayor Baba's explanation of Chart 7 facing this page. With the energy from the subtle and the illumination from the mental spheres for trillions upon trillions of years in the past and in the future, the gross universe has been and will be forming and disintegrating into countless stars, suns, planets, worlds, moons, and meteors. Yet, in fact, there are no such things as time and space. Once the soul is freed of illusion, illusion does not merely cease to exist, but is then found never to have existed at all. After a gradual evolution through the mineral, vegetable, and animal kingdoms of the gross universe, for a definite yet immeasurable period of millions, billions, and trillions of years, consciousness reaches perfection in man. Man then rightly ought to be God-conscious, but does not become so because of the samskaric bindings born of impressions of the illusory experiences gathered during the evolution of consciousness. Thus man remains fully conscious only of the gross. Before man's perfect but gross consciousness can evolve into the reality of God consciousness, it has first to evolve into subtle consciousness, and from the subtle into full mental consciousness. For that, the gross impressions have to turn into the subtle, and from the subtle into the mental impressions, regaining, in degree, the faintness and fineness of earlier impressions, as gathered in the vegetable and mineral forms, the fundamental difference being in consciousness. Unlike the definite course followed in the process of evolution, man as man can make use of his consciousness fully and freely. Therefore, the fully gross conscious man, according to the resultant tightening or loosening of his samskaric bindings, can become fully subtle conscious and thereafter fully mental conscious. Sometimes after a few, or sometimes after numerous human reincarnations between each of the two involutions of his consciousness. And if one happens to be blessed with divine love from a lover of God, or if one has the guiding hand of a perfect master, the emancipation from all bindings, however great and complicated they may be, is achieved much more easily and quickly. In exceptional cases, an instantaneous emancipation is also possible without involving a single reincarnation. However, in order to loosen the bindings through the opposite experiences of the duality of illusion, i.e., pain and pleasure, good and bad, man and woman, strong and weak, etc., on his own, man has to remain conscious of multifarious experiences for 84 lakhs of times, through something like 50 crores of sleeps of death. Yet invariably, on account of the all-pervading grace of God, man becomes subtle and mental conscious and is thus able to cut short more or less the stalemate of recurring physical births and deaths. Finally, by the grace of the God-man, or the man-God, in far, far less than an instant's flash of time, man becomes fully conscious God and finds that time and space are born of his own eternity and infinitude, in which time and space have no existence at all. Asterisk. Asked for further clarification, Eric B. Jesawala wrote in reply, the reference to 50 crores of sleeps of death is approximately what one soul has to undergo during the processes of evolution of consciousness, of forms, and of reincarnation, with the help of changes in the media, i.e., association with and dissociation from different forms of different species. 84 lakhs of shakings or reincarnations are in human form, but 50 crores of sleeps of death include pre-human forms, associations with, and dissociations from media and the experiences of their impressions. Man need not die more times than he can be born. Man is born once with the birth of mind, and man dies once with the annihilation of mind. As such, there is indeed no reincarnation. It is just a process of crores of sleeps of death for the mind that is born once and that dies once. Birth of mind involves the processes of evolution, reincarnation, and involution. Death of mind is realization of self. That was editor's note. Chart 7 is titled, God is reality and all else is illusion. And it consists of a circle divided in the middle. The division is called illusion. And that's on top. The circle's labeled everything. So the illusion section has labels gross body equals small gross shadow. Subtle body equals small subtle shadow. Mental body equals small mental shadow. And the gross body is of the gross sphere, which equals big gross shadow equals gross nothing equals nothing into nothing into nothing. Subtle sphere equals big subtle shadow equals subtle nothing equals nothing into nothing. Mental sphere equals big mental shadow equals mental nothing equals nothing. Man, and beneath this this oval of illusion and everything, there's little spheres labeled man is gross consciousness, another one man is subtle conscious, and man is subtle conscious functioning. Another one is man is mental conscious. Another one is man is mental conscious functioning. And those are through the gross, subtle, and mental bodies. There's an area of the beneath the illusion line that is labeled God's most original unconscious state of beyond the beyond. And in the reality oval, we have it labeled God is conscious of everything except nothing. And there's a five-sided circular thing, men God, and on the opposite side is God-man with an R in between, indicating they're the same. Simultaneously conscious of everything, including all nothing. And then at the bottom of the chart, there's God is everything and all else is nothing. Page 157, The 10 States of God by Eric B. Jesawala. The 10 States of God, which follows, was written by Eric B. Jesawala under the direct supervision of Meher Baba, describing and interpreting an original diagram. The 10 States of God, devised by Meher Baba. That's said by the editors. The 10 principal states of God depicted by Meher Baba. See the chart. State 1 is God in beyond beyond. State 2 is God in beyond, substates A, B, C. State 3 is God as emanator, sustainer, and dissolver. State 4 is God as embodied soul. State 5 is God as soul in the state of evolution. State 6 is God as human soul in the state of reincarnation. State 7 is God in the state of spiritually advanced souls. State 8, God as the divinely absorbed. State 9, God as liberated incarnate soul. State 10, God as man-God and God-man. The 10 States of God chart. A. God neither consciously experiences power, knowledge, bliss, nor uses them. B. God consciously experiences power, knowledge, bliss, but does not use them. C. God consciously experiences power, knowledge, bliss, and uses them. 1. God in the beyond beyond state. On the left we have a circle, power, knowledge, bliss, attributeless, formless, highest divine consciousness, B. Next we have 2, God in beyond state, A, with power, knowledge, bliss around it. C is power, knowledge, bliss outside a circle, which is quality, labeled quality manifest in form. Eight, Roman numeral 8, God as the divinely absorbed. There's a line labeled, if divinely absorbed state leaves its divine state, it goes to the divine junction or the man-God state. 9, Roman numeral 9 is labeled God stationed in divine junction as liberated incarnate soul. Roman numeral 3 in the center is spheres, God as emanator, sustainer, dissolver. Beneath it, Roman numeral 4, God as embodied soul. There's a line going down from the B sphere on the left, which is labeled attributeless, formless, going down to a sphere at the bottom, labeled S. After mental world, soul enters highest divine consciousness. Roman numeral 7, God in the state of spiritually advanced souls. with spheres of the gross world, subtle world, mental world, and lines going to Roman numeral 6, human, God as a human soul in the state of reincarnation. Roman numeral 5, God as soul in the state of evolution. Stones, metals, vegetables, worms, fishes, birds, animals, humans. And over on the right, Roman numeral 10, God as man God and God man. Gross body, subtle body, mental body, universal mind, unlimited divine ego, infinite consciousness. And those are our circles, starting with the gross body in dark blue, subtle body in medium blue, mental body in green, universal body in deep purple, universal mind in pink, unlimited divine ego in red, and infinite consciousness in the middle in yellow. Then we have a chart of terms. First is Vedantic, then mystic, and then Sufi. Paraptar, Parabrahma, God's beyond state. Gaib ul Gaib, Wara ul Wara. Paramatma, God in beyond state, Allah. Anant, infinite, Lamadud. Nirguna, attributeless, La Sifat. Nirakar, formless, La Surat. Satchit Ananda, or rather Satchit Anand, power, knowledge, bliss. Kudrat, Marafat, Musarat. Vidyan Bhumika, realm of mastery. Alam e Hahut, Arsh e Allah. Atma Pratisthapana, Sahaj Samadhi, established in the life of God, Bakabila. Vidyan, highest divine consciousness, Ahidiyat, Alam e Lahut. Saguna, qualitied, Ba-Sifat. Sakar, manifest in form, Basurat. Brahma, emanator, Afridgar. Vishnu, sustainer, Parvardigar. Mahesh, dissolver, Vanakar. Mano Bhuvan, mental sphere, Alam e Jabrut. Pran Bhuvan, subtle sphere, Alam e Malakut. Ana Bhuvan, gross sphere, Alam e Nasut. Utkranti, evolution, Irteka. Punarjama, reincarnation. Rijat or Awagawan. Bhumika, plain. Asman, Atma, soul. Jan or Ruh. Jivatma, embodied soul. Jan et Jismi. Manava, human. Insan, yogi or sadak. Aspirant, Rarav. Sadhu, advanced soul. Mutawasit. Mahatma, great soul. Akyar. Mahapurush, sant. Saint, Abrar equals Wali. Satpurush, adept pilgrim, parentheses saint. Afrad equals peer. Satpurush, I did that one. Manunash, parentheses nirvana. annihilation of mind, parentheses self, the final phauna, nirvikalpa, oneness with God, phanafila, Brahmibhut, the divinely absorbed, Majzuba Camille, Turiya Avastha, divine junction, Fana Ma'albaka at Mukam F. Furutat, Paramhansa, divine superman, Majzub Salik or Salik Majzub, Jivan Mukta, liberated incarnate, Azad at Mutlak, Sadguru, man-god, Kutub, avatar, god-man, Sahib-e-Zaman. Part 9, The 10 States of God. The pages of this chapter are built around the diagram depicting the 10 states of God. This diagram has been given by Meher Baba himself. It is a gem from the fathomless treasure of his supreme gnosis. The spiritual terms of this diagram have been linked up with the most generally accepted Sufi, Vedantic, and Christian mystical equivalents. If we take a bird's eye view of this diagram, we should find that it depicts what is really the downward journey of the oversoul to the lowest point of devolution as man, Insan Jivatma, and its upward journey again through the unfolding planes of consciousness back to the original source. First as the divinely absorbed Majzuba Camille, and culminating finally in the perfect man, Insana Camille Shivatma. The 10 different states of God are principal stages on this journey, a journey in which unconscious God becomes conscious man. Although these states of God are depicted as apparently distinct from one another, they are in effect 10 aspects of the one God who is and will always remain one. The descent and ascent of the Oversoul is in imagination only, and with the cessation of imagination comes the realization, with full consciousness for the individual soul, that God alone exists and that anything and everything else which appears to exist is but his shadow. Meher Baba's gnosis upholds, without equivocation, both the theory of identityism, Wadat ul Wujud, and the theory of Advaitism. Here we have a note, number 34 of the supplement. It's titled Tawhid, or the Unitary State of God. The principle involving Tawhid, or the unitary state of God, is indisputable. It is the basic foundation of all known religions and the goal of spiritual discipline in both Sufism and Vedanta. To accept Tawhid in theory is the privilege of the masses, but to indulge in research thereof is the specialty of the select few. It is both easy and difficult. Tawhid is seemingly so easy that it is talked about universally on pulpit and platform, and yet it is so difficult of achievement that the best of efforts therein yield nothing but stupefaction and bewilderment. The unity of God in its transcendental aspect is the Tawhid-e-Tanzihi, absolute oneness of Sufism, and the Advaita of Vedanta. The problem of Tawhid presents multifarious aspects, as is exemplified by the old story of several blind people examining an elephant. Each touched a different part of the creature and formed a different opinion. Individual approach to the subject is relatively quite true and unchallengeable, yet the elephant as a whole is something quite different and ununderstandable for the blind. The following are a few utterances of eminent Sufis concerning Tawhid and the aspects thereof which appeal to them. We have an asterisk. The apparent contradictions in the words of Sufis are merely due to limitations of the means to express the experienced truths and to describe the realized truth in different contexts, under different circumstances, and from different points of view, that always go together in a single experience or realization as a whole. Meher Baba says that such wordy differences do not contradict, but complement the expressions of experienced and realized truths which underlie such contradictions. Explanations in this respect, such as have already been given in preceding pages, should therefore be always kept in mind. Viz. Page 193. The approach to truth is individual, and so in the matter of details, much depends upon one's spiritual tendency, physical aptitude, and external circumstances. Page 198. 1,000 seekers may be enjoying as many experiences, yet the path of gnosis is only one. Page 207. In spite of the different aspects of the experiences of the experiencer, of the experiences of the capital E experience, all the aspects are experienced together at the same time. Page 228. On the one hand, more details confuse one more, and less details explain things less. This gives rise to a variety of terms and expressions for use from different viewpoints and in different contexts. In the absence of actual experience, descriptions of the same one thing often sound contradictory, but in the light of relative experiences or the final realization of truth, these very contradictions prove to be really complementary expressions about the same one truth. Tawhid is that reality in which the impressions, nukush, are wiped out and knowledge appears, and God remains as immaculate and pure as he was before. Junaid of Baghdad. Tawhid is the knowledge of God, and this knowledge enables the Gnostic to differentiate between the original, Qadim, and the contingent, Hadas, being. The transcendent state of Tawhid involves the denial of Tawhid. Junaid of Baghdad again. Tawhid is the effacement of the lover in the attributes of the beloved. Jahangir Samnani. Tawhid has two aspects. One is the state, and the other is the description of it. The descriptive aspect of Tawhid belongs to the worldly mission of the prophets, and the state thereof involves the infinite and boundless ocean. The descriptive aspect depends on the instrumentality of speech, sight, hearing, and cognition, and all of these require separate confirmation. To confirm on the basis of extraneous proofs is to suggest duality, and Tawhid is free of all tinge of duality. Faith in a man walks through the crowded thoroughfare of duality, and this stage cannot altogether be dispensed with. Descriptive Tawhid is like a lamp, while Tawhid in itself and by itself is the sun. When the sun appears, the light of the lamp vanishes into nothingness. Descriptive Tawhid is changeable, while the state of Tawhid is immutable and eternal. The words uttered by the tongue are overruled by the heart. When one on the spiritual journey occupies the station of the heart, the tongue becomes defunct and mute. Later on, the heart too is overridden by the spirit, John, and at this stage, the wayfarer talks to him. This talk is not in relation to the essence, but in relation to its attribute. The attribute changes, and not the essence. Ain. The sun warms up the water, whereby the attribute is changed, but not the water. Thus, the very attempt to affirm Tawhid is to deteriorate the pristine purity of Tawhid. Asbat ut Tawhid, fasidun fit Tawhid. Tawhid veils for the Unitarian Mawahid the beauty of absolute oneness. Jamal-e-Ahadiyat. Tawhid on that account is suspect because you desire it from yourself. One who writes about Tawhid is a mulhid, parentheses, rationalist. One who points toward it is a dualist. One who infers it is an idolater. One who talks about it is irresponsible. One who is silent about it is ignorant. One who thinks that he has realized it is self-deluded. One who imagines its nearness is distant from it. One who weighs it with intellect and forms ideas thereof is indulging in make-believe, and the one who finds it without seeking is the lost one. Abu Bakr Shibli. Tawhid, if spoken of in relation to absolutism, tanzi, is to qualify it and to refer to it as qualified. Tashbih is to make it limited and finite. To equilibrate the two extremes is, however, perfect and just what is desirable. That's by Muhyiddin ibn Arabi. Tawhid is essentially forgetfulness of Tawhid. Those returning to normal consciousness must needs have some work on the material plane. Hence, Tawhid may be likened to a creditor that can never be adequately and fully paid off in life. Kuduntul Kubra. Tawhid, the Unitarian stage of God, therefore admits of no language, as in that transcendent state there is none to whom to address oneself. The Sufis have classified Tawhid into 5 main categories, in keeping with or connoting the different stages of man's spiritual unfoldment. They are known as, number 1, Tawhid e-Aqwali, the verbal unity of God. Number 2, Tawhid e-Afa'ali, the active unity of God. Number 3, Tawhid e-Ahwali, the feeling unity of God. Number 4, Tawhid e-Sifati, unity of God in attributes. Number 5, Tawhid Zati, unity of God in essence. Number 1, Tawhid Aqwali belongs to the majority of mankind who believe in any one prophet, avatar, and have faith in his message. At this stage, mere verbal acceptance of God, or the unity of God, and the performance of duties pertaining thereto enjoined by the lawgiver are considered enough as a preparation for the forthcoming stages of spiritual life. This is also known as Tawhid Shariat. Number 2, Tawhid Afa'ali concerns those who have actually been initiated into the path. The expression of the unity of God with such initiates of the subtle sphere, Alam and Malakut, simulates intrinsically the life of the pure souls, the angels. At this stage, the spiritual conviction engendered within is that behind everything, good or bad, is the motivating power of God. Number 3, Tawhid Ahwali dawns on those advanced souls of the fifth plane in the mental sphere. At this stage, the soul finds itself invested with direct radiation of divinity and consciously or unconsciously gives immense help to others in the subtle and gross spheres. Number 4, Tawhid Sifati belongs to the sixth plane in the same sphere, mental. All the aspects of materiality from the gross and subtlety from the subtle planes still clinging to the soul are completely removed and dissolved, like the luster of stars getting dissipated before the sun. But number 3 and number 4 Tawhid belong to the same mental sphere, Alam Jabrut, and all the three, number 2, number 3, and number 4, are collectively known as Tawhid Tariqat. Number 5, Tawhid Zati is God realization in the fifth real sphere of Hakikat, which includes the different stages or aspects of the Marifat Hakikat, Viz. Halat Muhammadi in the stage of Lahut, and Hakikat Muhammadi in the stage of Hahut of the sphere of reality. The Sufis are unanimous on the point that amongst the various aspects inherent in the realization, or Tawhid Zati, the most perfect one is the accentuation of the difference of ubudiyat, servantship, between man and God. This spiritual fact the Church has misconstrued and misapplied in adducing that man is man and God is God, and that man can never become God, nor can God ever devolve into man. The truth underlying the situation, however, is that after the realization of Tawhid Zati, the emphasis on ubudiyat, servantship, connotes the third journey of the saliks, called Ser Ema Allah, the return to normal consciousness with God. The varying stages and aspects of Tawhid, as discussed above, are given below in tabular form. First column is stages, second column is aspects, third column is spheres. Tawhid Aqwali. The aspect is Waqif, gross conscious. The spheres are the Alam and Asut, the first sphere. Tawhid Afa'ali. The aspect is Wasif, praiser. The sphere is Alam e Malakut, second sphere. Tawhid Ahwali. The aspect is Arif, knower. And the sphere is Alam e Jabrut, the third sphere. Tawhid es Sifati. The aspect is Ashik, parentheses, lover. And the sphere again is Alam e Jabrut, the third sphere. Tawhid es Zati. The first is Ashik o the first aspect is Ashik o Mashuk, lover and beloved in one. The sphere is one, Alam Elahut. The second aspect is Ashik, parentheses, lover, and Mashuk, beloved, simultaneously. And the sphere is 2, Alam Ehahut, the fifth sphere. We have a title, Wujudiya and Shuhudiya. Amongst the various types of Unitarians, Al-e-Tawhid, the most important and controversial are the two schools of thought known as Wujudiya and Shuhudiya. Muhyiddin ibn Arabi is the greatest advocate of the Wujudiya school, upholding Wadat ul-Wujud, unity of existence, which in Vedanta is Advaitism, upheld by its greatest exponent, Sankaracharya. According to Ghazur Ilahi, Ibn Arabi held that existence, parentheses, wujud, is not more than one, and is the very same, is manifest to itself by itself, like water, which is manifest to itself in the form of ice by way of limitation. When in the state of fana, the limitation, parentheses, the form, disappears. The absolute remains and becomes hu, parentheses, he. Sheikh Shahabuddin Surawardi, one of the chief sponsors of the Shuhudiya school, characterizing its philosophy as Wadat ul-Shuhud, apparentism. The Vishishtadvaita of Vedanta maintains that in fana, banda, parentheses, the limited, becomes ka'anahu, hu, parentheses, like him, and not hu, parentheses, he. As iron in the fire, which becomes like fire, but not fire itself, the reality of iron being quite different from that of fire. The Shuhudiyas define two different existences, parentheses, Zat, and two distinct things in view, iron and fire. The iron becomes fire temporarily, and then iron is iron and fire is fire. Mirza Janan says that the relationship between the unmanifest aspect of God and the manifest aspect of God is that which exists between the ocean, the waves, and the bubbles. And this multiplicity does not in any way affect or interfere with the oneness of reality. This is Wadat ul-Wujud, parentheses, identityism. In contrast with this, The other position, determining the relationship between God and the created as that of the original and its shadow, or the sun and its rays, is Wadat ul Shuhud, apparentism. Wadat ul Wujud of Muhyiddin ibn Arabi is from the heights of Ahadiyat, conscious unity, and the gnosis pertaining to this stage is, therefore, Hama Ust, parentheses, everything is he. Wadat ul Shuhud of Sheikh Shahabuddin Surawardi, also known as Mujadid, is from the same heights of reality, Hakikat, but the gnosis expressed is Hama Azust, parentheses, everything is from him. The two doctrines and the resultant controversies are a later development at the beginning of the present Daur et Kalandari cycle of mastery, and so did not arise during the lifetime of the Arabian prophet. The doctrine of the Wujudiyas is based on experience plus reason, and the Shuhudiyas base it on experience and the Quranic aspects of common interest. Ibn Arabi denies transcendence and immanence, which imply duality. He maintains that God is one, and it is He alone who exists. All else that appear to exist are His manifestations, or tajalliyat. Hence, God is identical with sifat, attributes, and all divine names are identical with the named, which is Allah. The saints who belong to the Wujudiya school of thought have their eyes on the oneness of existence, parentheses, Wahid ul Wujud, the first Tajali, manifestation of God from the stage of Ahadiyat, and therefore the later devolutions, viz., mental, subtle, and gross worlds, are like a shadow, parentheses, zil, which is nothing, and as such constitutes an adumbration on Zat, parentheses, divine essence. The shadow, parentheses, zil, however, owes its existence to and is dependent upon God, who is infinite and eternal. Thus the shadow also is, in the sense that the Wujudiyas look upon everything as God, even the shadows, parentheses, mental, subtle, and gross worlds, which have no independent existence. The Shuhudiyas, as said before, hold two Zats, the one of reality and the other of non-reality, the one of God and the other of Banda. The Zat of Banda is zero, parentheses, adum, and this adum, parentheses, nothingness, is relational, parentheses, izafi, and is not real, parentheses, hakiki. If nothing, parentheses, adum, is to be considered as an essence, parentheses, reality, then there will be two zats, which results in dualism. The adum izafi is only relatively an adum, nothing. It is mere zero. If any number of zeros are added to a zero, the value of the number does not change. Thus, adum is therefore a symbol in the knowledge of God. Since perfection appertains to Zat, God is perfection itself. imperfection relates to adum, and hence evil is the manifestation of adum, non-existent existence. Read that again. Imperfection relates to adum, and hence, quote, evil, end quote, is the manifestation of adum, parentheses, non-existent existence. The Mujadid only reaffirmed and re-emphasized the doctrine of Wadat ul-Shuhud, apparentism, originally founded by Abdul Karim al-Jili, the author of Al-Insan ul-Kamil. The spiritual fact, however, is that Wujudiya philosophy is of a loftier kind and admits of no considerations of convenience or compromise. The gnosis of Meher Baba is equally applicable to both these approaches to truth, and in order to follow it as given in the 10 states of God, some familiarity with the Sufi way of delineating the Tanazalut, the devolutions of the Absolute, through successive stages of manifestations known as Kamsa Wujudat, 5 existences of the Sufi world, would be of help to the seeker. The gnosis of all perfect Sufis implies that God in the beyond state is unknowable and undefinable. In comprehending this state of God, Wara ul Wara, which is beyond, the wings of thought and imagination are paralyzed. In the beyond state, the absolute God, parentheses, Wujud-e-Mutlaq, is. The Sufis have described this transcendent state of God in many ways, such as Gaib ul Gaib, parentheses, the hidden of the hidden, Majhul un Nat, parentheses, the unknowable and the undefinable. It is in this state that there is no knowledge of itself for Zat. Munkata ul Izarat, parentheses, the state in relation to which all indications are dropped. Al-Ama, parentheses, the dark mist, which implies a state of latent potentiality of God in relation to its inward aspect of beyond the beyond, and its outward aspect of ahadiyat, parentheses, conscious oneness, in which Zat is aware of its transcendent unity. Meher Baba explains that although God from the beyond state, parentheses, conscious oneness, cannot return to the beyond state, he knows that he was and is infinite existence, infinite knowledge, and infinite bliss, and from that knows that his original state was the beyond state, Zat al-Bat. However, with a view to making the subject intelligible to the seekers, the Sufis have treated the divine theme in terms of devolutions or manifestations of 5 different types. Thus, Kamsa Wujudat, or 5 kinds of existence. Number 1, Wahid ul Wujud, parentheses, unitary existence, is the first manifestation, or Tajalli-e-Aval, in the Alam Elahut of the real sphere, and comprises the stage of Ahadiyat, parentheses, conscious oneness. Number 2, Arif ul Wujud, parentheses, knowing existence, is the stage associated with Hakikat-e-Muhammadi, reality of Muhammad, or Nur-e-Muhammadi, parentheses, light of Muhammad. We have asterisk, Hakikat-e-Muhammadi, God's original word realized. Nur-e-Muhammadi, God's original word expressed. Hakikat-e-Muhammadi includes Nur-e-Muhammadi, but Nur-e-Muhammadi does not include Hakikat-e-Muhammadi. The stage of Hahut in the sphere of reality. Read that again. Arif ul Wujud, parentheses, knowing existence, is the stage associated with Hakikat e Muhammadi, parentheses, reality of Muhammad, or Nur e Muhammadi, parentheses, light of Muhammad. The stage of Hahut in the sphere of reality. This is the stage of Wadiyat, conscious of, Wahidiyat, parentheses, conscious oneness, conscious of oneness in manyness. It is the second manifestation, the Tajali et Dovom. Number 3, Mumtan ul Wujud, parentheses, negative existence, is the third stage of manifestation, parentheses, Tajali et Savom. This is Alam et Jabrut, the mental sphere, at which point the stage of Wahidiyat, oneness in manyness, begins. Number 4, Mumkin ul Wujud, possible existence, amongst other things comprises the world of angels and spirits and is known as Alam e Malakut, parentheses, the subtle sphere, which is the sphere of energy. This represents Tajali et Chaharum, the fourth stage of manifestation. Number 5, Wajib ul Wujud, necessary existence, comprises everything relating to gross existence. It is known to the Sufis as Alam and Asut, the gross sphere, the fifth aspect of manifestation, the Tajali e Panjom. These represent the 5 devolutions of God from the beyond state, known as Tajaliyat e Kamsa, 5 manifestations, or Kamsa Wujudat, 5 existences. Now we shall treat each one of them in the ascending series, beginning with Wajib ul Wujud, necessary existence, and ending with Wahid ul Wujud, unitary existence. In the domain of Shariat, law, Wajib ul Wujud, necessary existence, means to the theologian the absolute God from whom all grades of existence derive their being. The Sufis, on the other hand, use the term to denote everything that is gross and material. Here wujud means body, since the evolving soul in stone, vegetable, animal, and human form cannot be said to evolve without the gross mediums composed of 5 elements. This gross existence in the stage of Wajib al-Wujud is a great boon conferred by God, as without it, the achievement of the stages of perfection, sainthood, and leadership would be unthinkable. The gross body is a wonderful and unique mechanism which has in it all the other 4 relative and real existences, the subtle, mental, and sub-supramental, and God himself. Hence the human body is called by the Sufis as alam-e-sabir, microcosm, which is the epitome of alam-e-kabir, macrocosm, which comprises all the five existences, the mystery of which no one can unravel without the help of the universal mind of a perfect master or the Savior. Wajib ul-wujud, necessary existence or gross sphere, derives its existence from, or is the reflection of mumkin ul-wujud, subtle sphere. The relationship between God and creation at this stage is that of the Lord and the slave. The evolving consciousness or mind of this stage is called nafs-e-amara, parentheses, evil self, and it has the natural tendency to enjoy anything that is gross. Here, the idea of God's relation to man is known as tawhid-e-aqwali, parentheses, verbal unity of God, which acknowledges the existence of God orally. Mumkin ul wujud, parentheses, possible existence, or subtle sphere, derives its existence from mumtan ul wujud, parentheses, mental sphere. Herein, the relationship between God and his manifested attributes is of the sort that exists between father and children. Here God is kind, merciful, and vigilant towards his children who are carefree, with no thoughts of punishment or reward, no desire for knowledge, and no craving for spiritual attainments. And such entities are commonly known as angels. The consciousness of this sphere, parentheses, alam e malakut, is styled as nafs el-lawama, parentheses, reproachful self. And the cognition of God at this stage is called Tawhid Afa'ali, parentheses, unity of action, which means the entities of this world are exclusively busy with their appointed task of remembering God. Mumtan ul wujud, parentheses, negative existence or mental sphere, contains the fifth and sixth planes of the path, which at this stage reaches wahadiyat, parentheses, oneness in manyness. Wahadiyat begins from the fifth and reaches its zenith in the sixth plane and has explicit in it all the details of creation comprising the subtle and the gross planes. This is the alam e-jabrut, which derives its existence from and is the reflection of arif ul wujud, parentheses, the stage of hakikat e muhammadi. It is called mumtan ul wujud, or negative existence, for the simple reason that mumtana means that which is non-existent, and wujud means the form or body of existence. Thus the word mumtan ul wujud signifies that the form is non-existent therein. This stage is akin to the seed, which contains within it the potential for the roots and the branches of the tree, which when fully evolved and manifest, go to represent the subtle and the gross planes. The Sufis know this as la makan, in which all ideas of time and space converge to a point. The consciousness of the mental sphere is called by the Sufis nafs-e-mutmaina, meaning beatified, or satisfied self, in the fifth plane, and nafs muhima, meaning inspired self, in the sixth plane. Herein, the relationship between God and creation is that of beloved and the lover, and the idea of God in these stages is known to the Sufis as Tawhid-e-Ahwali, unity of feeling. This is the stage known as Hakikat-e-Insani, reality of man, wherein man comes face to face with God, but has not yet shed his ego, and is still in the domain of duality. Wahid-e-Hujud, parentheses, unitary existence, in the stage of Alam Elahut, of the sphere of reality, is the state in which God first became conscious of his ahadiyat, parentheses, conscious oneness, and Arif ul Wujud in the stage of Alam Hahut, of the same sphere of reality, is the state of Wadiyat Wahidiyat, conscious oneness of oneness in manyness, also called Hakikat-e-Muhammadi. In the state of Wara ul Wara, God, according to the Sufis, was a hidden treasure and wanted to be known. No sooner did quote, the hidden treasure express a desire to know itself than it became aware of itself as light, parentheses, Nur, or Nur-e-Muhammadi, which has implicit and latent in it the existence of all the creation and the manifest world. And it is in relation to this that Prophet Muhammad has said, God created my light first, and from my light the universe came into being. This is the aspect of Jamal, parentheses, beauty, in the knowledge of God included in Tawhid-e-Zati, parentheses, unity of essence. Here the relationship existing between God and the creation is that existing between the lover and the beloved. Here the lover is God, and Muhammad is the beloved. God here possesses complete awareness of both himself and creation. Wahid ul Wujud, parentheses, unity of existence, is the first limitation of God in the beyond state, and is one of the stages of the fifth sphere known as Lahut. This is the stage of conscious absolutism, which when used by the Arif ul Wujud, knowing existence, gives him the experience of both Fana and Baka. Read that sentence again. This is the stage of conscious absolutism, which, when used by the Arif ul Wujud, parentheses, knowing existence, gives him the experience of both Fana and Baka. This stage, like all other stages of the path, is beyond mind and intellect and cannot be encompassed in words, and includes Tajalli-e-Jamali, parentheses, epiphany of beauty, and Tajalli-e-Jalali, parentheses, epiphany of beatitude. Tajalli-e-Jalali is that which confers on a soul the experience of Fana, parentheses, complete annihilation. And Tajalli-e-Jamali endows him once again with the consciousness of normality, known to the Sufis as Baka, parentheses, permanency. Tajalli-e-Jalali is also Ashkiyat, wherein God is the beloved and man is the lover, and Tajalli et Jamali is Mashukiyat, wherein God is the lover and man is the beloved. This latter is the highest spiritual manifestation known as Fakir or Fakiri. Thus, in Alam Elahut and Alam Ehahut of the fifth, the real sphere, are the stages of perfection in the respective aspects of Ashik o Mashuk, parentheses, lover and the beloved in one, and Ashik, parentheses, lover, and Mashuk, parentheses, beloved, simultaneously. In Alam et Jabrut, parentheses, mental sphere, are the stages of Ashik, parentheses, lover, and Arif, Gnostic. In Malakut, parentheses, subtle sphere, is the stage of enumerator of attributes. In Nasut, parentheses, the gross sphere, is the stage of Wakif, parentheses, gross conscious one. Describing these stages in the ascending order, when Wakif, the conscious one, becomes more conscious, he enters the stage of Wasif, parentheses, attributes, and from the Wasif he arrives at the stage of Irfan, parentheses, gnosis, and from Irfan he reaches the domain of the mysteries of God, Ma'arif. From the stage of Ma'arif, he is presented with the sight of God, which confers upon him the status of a lover, and when he ultimately becomes love, he finds that he himself was the end-all and be-all of everything. In this stage of Huyat, everything is dissolved in the quote, I am God state of God. Turning to page 159. I'll just read the first sentence again of that section. Meher Baba's gnosis upholds without equivocation both the theory of identityism, Wadat ul Wujud, and the theory of Advaitism. In the chart, The 10 States of God by Meher Baba, it is made clear that it is God alone who plays the different roles, real and imaginary. The beginning is God and the end is God. The intermediary stages cannot but be God. The spiritual dictum of Islamic theology is Huwal Awal, Huwal Akhir, Huwal Zahir, Huwal Batin. Parentheses, he is the first, he is the last, he is the external, he is the internal. Maulana Shabistari in Gulshan Eraz says, Gar andar amad aval ham bidar shud, agar si ki dar ma'ad az dar bidar shud. He returns to the door from which he first came out, although in his journey he went from door to door. We shall now try to describe concisely each one of these 10 states of God as explained by Meher Baba. State 1. God in the beyond state. This state of God is so transcendent that nothing can really be conceived of it. It is utterly pure and immaculate, and has no tinge of otherness. It is the hidden of all hidden knowledge, and the internal of all internal realities. It is beyond all words, and so it cannot be adequately described. It is neither finite nor infinite, neither attributeless nor with attributes. In this domain, the wings of thought, inference, discrimination, and understanding are limp and useless. Bikiyal dar nakunjad, tu kiyal ikuvud maranjan, zi jahat buvad mubara, matalab bihik suyash. Hafiz. He cannot be grasped by the mind, therefore do not exert yourself to understand him. He is free of all directions, therefore do not try to seek him anywhere. Meher Baba says that when one who has realized this state of God tries to describe it to others, this act results in a description not of the first, but of the second state of God, God in the beyond state. It is the eternity of all eternities, Azal ul Azal, because no eternity can be conceived of to precede or to follow it. Here all indications are blotted out, Munkata ul Izarat, since no other thing exists that can be pointed out or referred to. This pure essence, Zat al-Bat, is not aware of anything, even of itself. This state has been referred to by the Sufis as Wara ul Wara, the beyond state of God. Vedanta calls it Par Parabrahma. This is the state in which God is neither nirguna, attributeless, nor saguna, with attributes, neither nirakar, formless, nor sakar, with forms. Of all the principal 10 states of God, the first and the most original state is the beyond state of God. When there were no other states of God in the beyond, When there were no other states of God in the beyond the beginning of the beginning, only the most original infinite state of God, that is, God is state, prevailed as the beyond state of God. In the infinitude of this beyond state of God, only the infinity of infinitude is manifest as the unbounded, absolute, infinite divine vacuum, and all other states, attributes, and aspects of God, including infinite consciousness and infinite unconsciousness, are all latent as the nothing in that infinitude of the unbounded, absolute, infinite, divine vacuum as the everything. Everything also includes the nothing. Thus, the most original, beyond state of God is that state where one can only say, God is eternally, and that in this most original state, God is neither infinitely nor finitely conscious, nor unconscious of self or of his own state of infinitude. In this state, God is also neither conscious nor unconscious of illusion or reality.